So today on the panel we have Ali Raza, Ghazal Shehzadi, Mutahir Sohail, and Ahmed Amjad, who are going to talk about the basic test automation tools and concepts for web automation and how to optimize its efficiency. So first, again, to set some ground rules, I want everyone to please have their mics muted. And while the presenters are presenting, if you have any questions, just use the session chat to ask them. At the end of the session, we will have the last 10 minutes reserved for question and answers. So if you want to have a discussion, then you're most welcome to ask the questions there. So let's first move to Ghazal Shehzadi to start presenting. So over to you, Ghazal.
She may be speaking on mute.
I don't think so. Ghazal, can you hear us?
Ghazal is for sure mute. I can see she's on mute.
Hi everyone. Can you guys hear me now?
Yes. Babar, can you also mute? There's noise coming from your side. All right.
So there is a lot of noise coming from someone's side. Can you all mute, please?
Okay, I'm going to mute all, and then Ghazal, you will have to unmute yourself.
Okay, sure. Hi everyone. So this is Ghazal, and I'll be presenting modern web automation testing today. So let's
Ghazal, your mic is mute again.
Is it fine now?
Yeah, it's fine. Now it's fine.
Okay, so I'll start from the start. So this is Ghazal Shehzadi. I hope you're all doing well. So I'll be presenting modern web automation today, and let me introduce you with the team members. So we have Mutahir, Ali Raza, Ahmed, Shiza, and Amna in our team, and we are being led by Asim Bhatti. So we are going to have a brief overview of the web automation tools first, since we are using more than one. And then we are going to give you a demonstration of the CI integration in both tools. And after that, we are going to give you the demo of the work that has been done, and the reason why are we choosing a particular tool, and the comparison between them. And lastly, there is going to be a question answer session.
Ghazal, you're mute again.
Why am I going to get mute every time? Because let me check. I think
This
This
is
happens when you are not using external headphones.
This is an issue on your side. I think some noise is generated, and that's why the system is putting you on mute.
okay. I'll keep a check on that now. Okay, so talking about the history of web automation. So test automation is nothing new. It has been there around for more than 20 years. So over the years, test automation tools and processes have matured to simplify the process of developing test automation and creating some reliable scripts. So talking about the first generation of test automation tools, it was related to record and playback. That was especially useful for regression testing, but that approach required very minimal coding. But at the same time, it has its cons, like it was unstable, and even the minor errors were disrupt the whole automation script. And the second generation of testing automation framework was script-based, as you all know. The tool IDE would look like the developer's IDE, and that would provide support for object-oriented languages like Java and other languages. But that process was again very time consuming, and that required a lot of technical skills to work on it. So moving on, then we had more improvements in that field. By combining these approaches, we have data-driven framework that addresses all these problems by separating automation script from the data that is being given by the user. And it resulted in, but at the same time, it resulted in creating lengthy automation code that demanded a lot of time and effort. So, as all this automation, web automation evolves, we come across different tools and technologies that provide us multiple features, like talking about some very popular features and frameworks in the market, like TestNG, that is related to the data-driven testing, and it provides annotations, grouping test cases, and prioritizing them and organizing them in a good way inside your system. Also, we have more advanced tools like we have more advanced design patterns like page object models that would help maintain the object repository and separate the test cases from its object. That also helped us, that eventually helped us to make our code readable and reusable. So we can also, work on the reports that are being generated out of our tests. We can just make the reporting very easy. We can share the reports with the stakeholders, and that is being done with the CI tools available in the market. And the most popular tool for all these purposes is Selenium. So another giant leap in this era has been codeless testing. So it has allowed the testers to design test cases using a very user-friendly interface with the very minimal, with writing no code at all, since the tool just provide the coding, the scripting itself. So that becomes very easy for the non-technical resources to test something, that to test the softwares and to do things at very ease. So moving on, we have some leading tools in the market that we'll be using in our session today. So Selenium has, it has emerged as a leading tool, as you all know. So it supports, the functional aspect of the web application with a wide range of browsers and platform support, and it ensures the quality and usability and performance at the same time. It has been an open source tool, free of cost. A lot of community is a lot of community help is available. Throughout internet, you can go over and you can find help in the very tiny problem that you face. Secondly, we have Katalon Studio. It's a very user-friendly automation solution that is known for its simplicity and speed. So with the Katalon, you can just spend the least effort from setting up a new project to executing test and then eventually monitoring execution results. So each workflow in Katalon it's known for its capability of doing effortless maintenance, and since the tool provides a lot of features in itself. So so next we have Ali. He'll be giving you an overview of Selenium further. So Ali, I'll move the control to you.
Thank you, Ghazal. Hey everyone, can you see my screen?
Yes, we can. Yes, Ali, we can.
Okay. So before I jump into how we achieve this using Selenium, I just want to add, in any web automation project, we need to validate the web elements and also validate the data which are coming from API is met on UI or not. So basically, I'll explain how I achieve these areas using Selenium. So for validating UI, we are using Selenium WebDriver and form design pattern, page object design pattern. So for validating the API data, we implement the POJO, and TestNG framework is being used to control the execution of test cases. And last, we have the continuous integration part. So let's move towards Selenium WebDriver. So Selenium WebDriver interacts with the web elements and perform different actions. Let's suppose we have a login screen, and for login, we need to send correct username and password. And after that, we click on the login button. So here, WebDriver interacts with the text field, write username and password, and click on the login button. So in the same way, WebDriver interacts with all the elements that are displayed on the web pages, have the capabilities to perform multiple actions like click on button, get value of any text field, or can write any text in the fields, and so on. So next is design pattern. So we are using the page object model as a design pattern. So the page object model is most widely used in test automation that creates an object repository for web UI elements. The advantage of this model is that it reduces code duplication and improves the test maintenance. So basically, under this model, for each web page, the application, there should be a corresponding page class. This page class will identify the web elements of the page and also contains page methods which perform operations on those web elements. And that operations performed on those elements are written in separate classes. I can show you through example. So this is the example of page object model. So all the locators of a web page is written in this class, and their respective test functions are written in a separate class. And this is the hierarchy of project structure which are used for the page object model. So next is for the API testing. For API testing, we implement the POJO concept. So we fetch API response, which is in JSON, and map into the POJO classes. When we hit any API with the required headers, it will return JSON string and response code. Now we parse the JSON string into the rest assured mapper, and mapper will convert this raw JSON string into key value pairs. This mapper will return JSON object, and that JSON object will be in the form of class. This will be the object of class, so you can use any required key value pairs in your test functions. Mapper required the valid JSON string, and POJO class, which is the representation of string. Mapper, rest assured mapper basically required valid JSON string and the POJO class, and that POJO class will be the representation of that string. Next is TestNG framework. So TestNG framework is used to control the execution of test functions, which with the use of annotations and XML file. Like we have different annotations at the rate test, before test. You can use any annotation, depends upon your scenarios. So there are multiple test functions in different classes, and now we need to execute test functions in certain order. What TestNG provide is you can control the execution through XML classes. Like I can give you an example. So here are the here we written all the test functions, and execution of those test functions are controlled through classes. What TestNG provide, it will give you control to execute multiple classes according to the order which is defined in the respective XMLs. Like we have multiple suites and we need to execute in a certain order. What TestNG provide is you can execute them in a suite files. So log4j is being used to perform logging. So with the logging, it is possible to store the flow details of our Selenium automation in a file or database. Logging is important in any kind of project. Like for example, in our project, we have to validate the data which is coming from API and UI. And if any of the data which is coming from API doesn't match on the front end, in this case, instead of filling the test case, we should add logging. It will provide us that the specific cases that is failed is it will provide us you can say the specific test cases which are not mapped on the UI. It will save in the log file. Okay, so next is extend report. Extend report is basically reporting mechanism. Extend report is used to give the final outlook of the test results and capture the screenshot as well if test case is failed. And it will also capture the screenshot on which screen your test case is failed. So the next part is how we achieve all these areas in our system. So we have automated the schedule screen point where multiple activities schedule is generated, scheduling engine that generates schedule based on different rules and input like employees availabilities, capabilities, and their weekly availabilities. So what we need to verify is we need to validate that shift assigned against each employee in a given week, validate assigned activities according to the employee capabilities, validate that no activities are assigned to employee on a leave day. Admin can assign an additional activity to any employee from add activity button. Let's quickly move towards demo. So we execute the suite file, and this suite file refers to different XMLs. Now script will initiate the automated Chrome driver and navigate to our site. Now WebDriver entering the credentials to log in the applications. It's successfully logged into the dashboard. So now WebDriver move to the schedule screen where all the test functions will be executed. So on this screen here, basically script fetch all the employee information from API and validate either the data which are coming from API is the same that are displayed on UI. For example, there is a first employee Adams and assigned activities leadership, at 2 p.m. to 10:15 p.m. Script will verify that what activity is assigned to this employee on Thursday, and it will give the activity name. It's a API return the activity name, shift time, slot, and then it will compare from the on the UI. If this information match, the test will pass. Otherwise, it will log the information that if activity name from API's leadership and something some other activities displayed on the on the UI. So it will log that activity name assigned on the API's leadership, but the activity that are displayed on the UI is different. And in the same way, WebDriver add additional activities to any employee from add activity button. So here we have the add activity button and the drop down button. So secondly, this will validate the drop down values. So in each drop down value, there is a week information is given, and against each week there is a schedule, and script will validate schedule exists or not. And the third one is add activity. The driver will navigate. So the third is add activity. Now, what the WebDriver will do, WebDriver will add additional activities against employee from an add activity button. And it can be against any employee. Now WebDriver navigate to the second view where, so here is the information about what activities are assigned, how many activities are being performed in the on a whole week, and total scheduled hours assigned against each employees against each activities. Now execution is completed. So here are 10 test cases and 9 passed and 1 failed. Now we navigate the logging report. So here is the information about the test cases that are failed and activities which did not match. Like if we scroll down.
यार अली स्टे विद योर माइक, आपकी वॉइस आती है फिर चली जाती है, तो इट्स रियली हार्ड टू हियर व्हाट यू आर सेइंग. प्लीज स्टे विद योर माइक.
Okay, okay. Now better?
यस बट प्लीज स्टे विद योर माइक. आप आई थिंक हेड मूव करते हैं तो सारा ऑडियो चला जाता है.
Sure thing. So like activity data information from API is Kroger culling is being assigned to the TBD employees, and WebDriver is trying to get this information on a team member view. And when we comparing the values on team member page, but activities that are assigned to TBD is on another web page. That's why the logging part is what logging part is do here is trying to fetch what WebDriver is trying to do here is WebDriver is trying to find those activities against these employees on a team member view page, and if doesn't match, then it logs the information here. So now move to the extend report. So after all the execution is done, we share after all the execution done, the extend report will give you overall results of the test functions, and it will provide the screenshots on which test cases failed. Like here we have one test case failed, and it will provide you the screenshot as well. So after the execution is completed, we share the log file and report with the dev team, and I think this information is sufficient to resolve the issue. As we do in the manual testing, we provide the steps to reproduce if any test case is failed. In Config, I got a chance to work on two automation threads, and by using this design pattern and TestNG framework, I am able to achieve automation. I am able to achieve the complete execution in this. So this is all from my side. Over to you, Mutahir.
Thank you, Ali. Can you stop sharing the screen?
Sure.
Hello guys, can you see my screen?
Yes, we can.
Okay, so just give me a sec. Okay, the focus of this part of the session is to show you guys the CI part of functional automation, so that how we are going to execute our tests when code is committed to any repo. Firstly, I would like to give you some basic overview of Jenkins and its needs. So the first point is why Jenkins and CI. So the old style of automation testing was when a developer pushes the code and build is generated, the tester run his automation scripts manually and share his report. Now if the build contains bug from our smoke set that our important test cases, there was a wastage of time, and this activity of fixing and pushing code repeats. Now this is where Jenkins come into play. Jenkins is an open source continuous integration server capable of orchestrating a chain of actions that help you achieve the continuous integration process. The best thing about Jenkins is that it is free and it is entirely written in Java. Jenkins is a widely used application around the world that has around 300,000 installations and growing day by day. Few of the many reasons we chose Jenkins for our CI integration. Not CI integration. Using Jenkins, we can configure our automation suites in a way that whenever there is a code pushed by the developers in their Git repo, an automated Jenkins job executes itself, which tests all our automation scripts even before the tester puts his her hand on the build. Now, if the automation suite fails, the team will be notified about the failure and we can get rid of the problem even before the build is given to TE. Now, having said that, let's go to a little demo that I have recorded for you guys to see how CI works in our case. So here, this is the homepage of Jenkins, and I have my functional automation pipeline here configured already. So I will be showing you how this functional automation pipeline has been configured. So I will be clicking on functional automation. This is the pipeline project I have created for the automation. Remember, all the code that Ali has presented is on the Git right now. Now I will click on configure to show you the settings that we have done. So on the configuration page, there is some description. I have added an ABC description. The other part is this is the URL of the developers code where developers will be pushing their code. This test project, this is a developers code. Okay, keep that in mind. This is an important part. The communication between Git and Jenkins will be enabled through hooks. So we need to check this box as well. This shows the hook configuration. Where the communication is hook. Yes.
Sorry for disturbance. Your screen is not visible.
No one can see my screen.
Mutahir, we can see your screen, but I think you have to stay a little bit far from your mic.
Okay. I just had it in my mouth actually. So is only Zunair not able to see my screen, or so everybody else can see my screen, right?
Yes, at least I can see your screen.
Okay, Zunair, please try to reconnect to the call. I am hopeful that it will work this time. Okay, continuing with the session now. Okay, continuing with the session now. So the last part is the script. At start of node, there is a URL. You can see of the developer's code. Again, it will show whenever there is a commit. It will get the commit from the URL. The first stage shows the URL, of our automation code on Git and the branch in which the code is. So it will be getting the code from this repo. This is our Firebird automation. This is the automation code that Ali has pushed on the CI test branch. So we're getting that. The second stage is the most important stage. Here we are using Maven command to execute our suite. If you see, we have surrounded this piece with a try catch. The reason is if a stage fails in Jenkins, the complete execution stops itself and proceeding stages are not executed. So in order to make sure even on single fail the process is completed, we need to surround the code with a try catch block just to make sure the code keeps on executing. And the last stage is sending us the email or whatever the status of this execution is. Now I will apply and save. Now to make a commit, I will go to my code where assuming this is the developer's code, I will go to code and I will make a commit. So this is not a very good way of making a commit, but I am going to update the readme file to show a commit in developer's code. So we can see commit the developer's code and commit changes. So now we have made a commit. So you will see in our functional automation job, a job will trigger itself automatically, and the return number 33 is also, see, we have a number 34 automatically generated, and it will work around all the three stages that I have mentioned in my pipeline. So first stage is get automation script from Git, second is to execute test cases, and third is to email the output. Now if you look at the stages, we have three stages, two passed and one failed. So with the help of try catch block, as we have seen, if in any stage fails, we still need to continue with the execution. So the test case is failed, but we move to the email part. So I have configured an email address, and you will see I have a build number 34 email already here. Just came through the execution. Here I have the build name, the status of the build that's still failing, and the build number, and I have an HTML report attached. So all I can do is download the report and see this TestNG report. So it is giving me all the status and the passed and failed test cases, and also the description of the failed test cases, which test case failed where. So that's pretty much good, right? Now this is it for the demo part. I hope you guys understood it. Now let me tell you some little hacks on what are important things to do before the Jenkins integration. So the point is to host Jenkins on public IP. So this is an important thing to know. Jenkins executes on local host, and Git being public cannot access anything on local machine. So we need to host our Jenkins on public IP. So this can be done using ngrok. It is a service. This service allows you to host your local host Jenkins to your public IP, where Git can easily access it. The reason Git needs to access it is cause of webhook, which I was telling you previously required to trigger the build whenever there is a code commit. An important note is that we need to create a webhook in our developer's code to detect the commit. So we have created a webhook. To create a webhook, we need to go to project settings and create a webhook there. So there is an option of webhook. We can create a webhook and generate and whenever there is a code commit, this webhook generates itself and intimate the Jenkins that there is some code commit, and the code execute itself. Lastly, moving to the Jenkins global tool configuration. So before starting, we need to do some configuration in our Jenkins. In order to make everything work properly, we need to configure our Maven JDK in global tool configuration part in the Jenkins, so that it can use our local settings like Maven or JDK or whatever settings we want from our local machine. They will execute themselves automatically. We can also configure different types of reporting tools from TestNG that Ali has already shown. Then we can also use Selenium Grid plugin in Jenkins for parallel execution. So Jenkins is a very rich tool, and it gives you vast opportunity for your CI and CD as well. I hope you guys understood it. Let's move forward with the session. This concludes the Jenkins part. Now I would ask Ahmed to continue the session from here. Ahmed, can you start your part?
Yes, I'll share my screen. Okay, does everyone have my screen?
Yes, Ahmed.
Okay, so I'll start with the Katalon Studio overview. Katalon Studio is an automation solution developed by Katalon LLC. It allows the user to automate UI and API. For the UI part, it can automate desktop, web, and mobile applications. In mobile, it can handle both Android and iOS. And for the web part, we can automate SOAP-based and REST-based APIs. One of the good things that it has is a specialized IDE, which allows the user to create automated tested scripts in a manual view and a coded view. We will take a look at this later on in the session. Okay, so for the web part and the mobile part, Katalon Studio uses open source frameworks of Selenium and Appium. So anyone who is already familiar with Selenium and Appium would find it very easy to work with Katalon Studio when automating on web or mobile. And also, it supports multiple test automation methodologies. These days in industry, TDD and BDD is very popular. So it supports that as well. You can write your test cases in the TDD or BDD format. You can also do data-driven testing and page object model testing that Ali just discussed, and as well as keyword-driven testing. In this session, I will be showing you what the keyword-driven testing model looks like in Katalon Studio. Okay, so what does the implementation look like in Katalon Studio, or how should we proceed with doing test automation in Katalon? So when we create a project, we get several templates. So when you click on create a new project, you are going to get several templates, one for keyword driven, one for BDD and TDD, and so on. So you select a keyword driven project, and you after creating that project, what you should do is you should add your project to a Git repository on your local. Once that's done, you should upload it to a remote repository hosting service like GitHub or Bitbucket, whichever you're using. And you should use a pull request process for merging your automated scripts and then have them reviewed by a senior member of the team or a developer. And finally, you should integrate your test scripts with a CI server. In this session, we are going to see how Katalon is integrated with the TeamCity CI server. Okay, so this is a test plan automation workflow that I have created. I'm sure many members in this session are already familiar with this workflow. It's the same one that we follow for development here in Confiz, where we use Git repositories and then push it to a remote repository hosting service. So when automating test cases, we should first of all create a task in Jira. And for that task, we need to create a feature branch. And within that feature, we should clone that feature branch on our local and then start automating the test script. Once we are done, we should make a commit with a meaningful message and then push it to remote. After that, we need to generate a pull request. And then the pull request will be reviewed by a senior member of the team. The reviewer is going to see whether there are any issues in the code. And if there are, he's going to assign it back to the tester, and he can then make the required fixes. And after it gets approved by the reviewer will then proceed to merge the changes into the develop or master branch. One additional step should be that once the code gets merged to develop or master, there should be a test suite that should be automatically triggered on every merge. This is beneficial because it allows us to see whether after any merge, was there any issue with our test suites, or whether those changes have impacted the other scripts. So when the test suite gets triggered, we can see which test cases have passed and which test cases have failed. And we can identify if the merge caused any issues. So now let's take a look at the test script creation workflow. So in Katalon, what we can do is we can create our scripts using the recorder. This gives us a good baseline for our automation script. We can then modify the script according to our needs in the Katalon IDE. Remember that I mentioned that the Katalon IDE has two modes, a manual mode and a script mode. So you can code in it, or you can do it manually by manually adding keywords. We will take a look at this later. And the next step should be to optimize the locators. So Katalon Studio, when you record your script, it also records the locators. You should open up all the locators that the script has recorded and make sure that their values are reasonable and efficient. And the next part should be, you may need to create a custom keyword method. Katalon does provide a lot of keywords, but sometimes a need may arise when you might need to create one of your own. So Katalon also allows you to do this as well. An example can be maybe you want to extract some text from an element, but not the complete text, instead part of the text. So for that, you would need to create a custom keyword method that takes in a regular expression and the element text and returns the required text. And the next step should be to abstract out the common test steps. These are the test steps which are common across many of the test cases. So a simple example can be the login and logout steps. So you can extract out those steps from your test case and create them as a separate test. Then you can call the login and logout test case within your other test cases. And then after you're done, you should test out your script, because in this session we are focusing on the UI automation, and we know that the UI tests can be very flaky. You should at least test your script 4 to 5 times to make sure they are stable and they don't fail prematurely. So if they don't test out okay, you would need to repeat the process, and it could be the problem could be anywhere. It could be in your locators, it could be in your script or your custom keyword, or in a called test case. So you need to fix those and then test again. And if that succeeds, then you should proceed to add your test script to a test suite. Okay, so TeamCity integration. In TeamCity, we can integrate Katalon. TeamCity, there is a Katalon runner plugin for TeamCity that we can use to run our Katalon test scripts on the TeamCity CI server. So a simple overview on how to do that would be simply to create a project in the TeamCity account. And in that project, we need to add the repository, the remote repository link of our Katalon project. And then, as I mentioned, we need to install the Katalon runner plugin in the TeamCity. And in order to run the test suites, we need to generate a command. This command is generated from the Katalon Studio tool itself. We will take a look at this in a moment. So after we have that command, we can then provide this command in the build configuration that we create. And finally, we can configure the test suites on how we should run them. We can run them daily. We can schedule them to run them daily, and we can also schedule them to run on every merge. So whenever a code is merged in our branch, the test suites will be automatically triggered. Okay, so let's quickly see what Katalon actually looks like. So this is Katalon Studio. I have it open. And on the left, you can see I have this test explorer. This is going to provide an overview of what a Katalon Studio UI automation project looks like. So first, I have profiles. Over here, I can segregate my data, test data, based on the environments that I'm using. Next, we have the test cases. And within test cases, you can create folders. These folders can represent features or modules, whatever way you want to organize your test scripts. If I go into credit flows and VBT, over here I can see a few of the test cases that have been automated. Okay. Next, we have the object repository. This is where all of your locators are saved. So if I open this up, you're going to see a long list of folders. These folders are actually the names of the web pages that Katalon has recorded. So if I open up this account information, I can see locators, all of the locators that are part of this page, account information page. So this is how Katalon organizes locators. It fetches the page heading, and then it creates a folder, and then it puts the locator under that folder. And of course, if you want, we can also create locators from scratch on our own. And next we have the test suites collection. Over here, we can create a test suite, as well as we can also create a collection of test suites. So if I go into CTVT, these last four are test suites, and these first two are actually a collection of test suites, right? So if I open up MIVT, these are all the test cases within this test suite. And if I open up this test suite collection, these are all the test suites within this test suite collection. Okay, moving on. You can also specify any data files for data-driven testing. And we have the keywords that we use within our test case. We have some default keywords that Katalon provides, and also we can add our own custom keywords. So I have created this utility file, and in this utility file, I can create custom methods that I can then call in my test cases. Okay, so what does the Katalon test actually look like? Let's open up one test case and quickly take a look. I'm going to open up this perform refund test script. So this is what it looks like. This is the manual view that Katalon Studio provides. If you look over here, we have the add button. This can be used to add the keywords. So we have this web UI keyword over here. We also have this custom keyword over here for any custom action methods that we have created. And we have this call test case option that we can use to call another test case within this test case. So looking at the columns, first we have the keyword column where we specify the keyword. So we have simple keywords like click, like wait, like set text, and so on. The second column is the object column. This is where we specify the locator on which the action will be performed. Then we have the input where we pass any input. This can be any input that we want to set into an element, or it can be any input that we need to pass to an action method. And then we have the output field. This can be used to store the output of any keyword into a variable, and then that variable can be referenced later on in the test case. And then finally, the description, to add any description regarding the test step. And as I mentioned, this is the manual view. If I click on this script tab, this is going to open up the code view for me. So this, in Katalon, you can code in Java or Groovy. And when I click on the script tab, it opens up this IDE, and it works the same way as any IDE does. You can code anything you want in here. You can import classes, you can import namespaces, any programmable action you can do over here. And any action that I do over here, any changes that I make in the script view are automatically going to be reflected on the manual view, and vice versa. So if I make any changes in the manual view, it's going to reflect in the script view as well. So this is very beneficial for any user, whether they are proficient or coding or not. They can code the script if they want, or they can use the manual view to create their test case. And also we have this variables tab. This is where we can identify the variables, and then we can pass those variables in our test case. Okay, As I mentioned, we can also modify the locators as we want. So I can right click on this locator and then I can click on open. This is going to open up the locator for me. As I mentioned, when Katalon Studio records a locator, it tries its best to fetch numerous locators for the same element. So over here, you can see there are at least 5 different locators for the same element. So once you're done recording, what you should do is you should try to select the best one, the best locator, or if there aren't any good locators uh, created by Katalon, you should create your own. You can override these values. Okay, so this was just a basic overview of what exactly the test cases look like in Katalon and how it works. Regarding recording, you can see I have this record web option over here. I have one for mobile as well, and I have one for Windows as well. So when I click on this record web, it's going to ask me to select the browser, and then I can proceed with doing my actions, and it's going to start recording them. Also, once we record and when we try to save our script, since Katalon is also saving the locators, it is going to identify and tell us whether we are overwriting any existing locators or not. So we can then choose which locators to override and which ones to not override. Now let's see what the TeamCity integration with Katalon looks like. Okay, so this is TeamCity, and I am logged in with my account. And if you can see in the projects, I have this Enterprise Automation Katalon project. When I go into this, over here, I can see several build configurations. We only need to focus on the last one, which is private VT UI. You can see it's red, it's marked red. That is because the last test run that was executed, it failed. So that's why it's red. So if I open this up, I can see a historical run of all the test runs, and I can see which ones were failed. I can also see what changes were made. These changes reflect the merge changes that were made. So if there's any failure, I can just go into here and see exactly what was changed. That would help me to identify any issues. So over here, if on the top, if I click on this settings tab, I can see the settings of this configuration. There are lots of configuration, but we will only discuss the main ones that are required. So first, in this VCS root, we can see the link for our Katalon project repository. So you can see that the Katalon project was hosted on the Bitbucket remote repository hosting service. So we have provided that link over here so that the TeamCity CI server can check out this solution on its own directory. Then inside the build configuration, we need to add the build steps. You can see there are around 4 build steps here, but we only need to, for now, let's only focus on this 4th one, which is the run Katalon test city test plan. And over here, you can see that I have selected the runner type as Katalon. So as I mentioned earlier, in order to integrate Katalon with TeamCity, we need to install a Katalon runner plugin for TeamCity. So once we do that, we are able to select the runner type as Katalon. Over here, we can also see the version of the Katalon runner. And finally, this command arguments. This is the command that I talked about earlier in the session, that in order to run our test suites, we need to generate a command from Katalon Studio. So to quickly take a look at that, I will go into Katalon. I will go into test suites and open up a test suite. I can click on this build CMD button. So here you can see it generates a Katalon API key. It uses this API key to initiate the test run for this test suite. I can then browse and then select the test suite and click on generate command. This is the command that I'm going to need in order to run this test suite on TeamCity CI server. I just need to modify this slightly so that it matches the TeamCity CI server checkout directory. So if I go back.
Ahmed?
Yes.
Can we wrap up this section in like 2 minutes?
Yes, it's done. It's almost done. So here you can see the path for the command arguments that we have generated from Katalon. And over here we can see the VCS trigger. And over here we have mentioned that we want to trigger our test suite runs whenever there is a merge on the master branch or the develop branch. And secondly, we have scheduled the trigger to run at 7 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. For our test suite. So if I open any one of these test runs, I can go into this artifacts tab. And over here, I can see all the test suites that have been run. And I can see the reports for each one of these. So we have this HTML report over here. If I open this up, I can see all the test cases that were executed within this test suite. And I can also see which one passed and which one failed. So we have 2 failures over here. If I open one of these, I can see what caused the failure. So over here, it seemed that some element was supposed to be visible, but it's not. And also I can see the screenshot for this as well. So here I can see the screenshot at the exact point of failure. Okay. So yeah, that was it from my side. Ghazal, can you proceed with the next slide? Let me share the next slide. Here you go.
Okay, thank you, Ahmed. So we'll quickly go through the comparison of Selenium and Katalon Studio, as mentioned in detail by Ahmed and Ali, like how we work in it. So let's quickly go through the features that we have. So we have test development platform that is cross platform for both of them, and then we have applications that could be tested in both tools. So we can only deal with web applications in Selenium, but we have a huge options in Katalon Studio. Similarly, we have like option of scripting language in Selenium. We can use Java, C#, Python, and a lot others. But the language selection is very limited in case of Katalon Studio. So talking about the programming skills, as you might have noticed by now, that that very minimal programming knowledge is required in Katalon Studio, since it provides a lot of features in the tool. But you have to have advanced skills needed in Selenium. At least a good deal of knowledge for a particular programming tool. Talking about installation and setup, it's a bit difficult. In Selenium, you have to integrate with a lot of tools and you have to work with plugins and all, but it's comparatively easier in Katalon Studio. That's my favorite part, which is object storage. Katalon provides built-in object repository, whereas you have to locate each element with XPath. In Selenium, as it gets trickier when you have like a complex page structure. Continuous integration, yes, various tools for both of them, while Katalon uses only the popular ones like Jenkins and TeamCity. Licensing. So that's the part that we are all concerned about. So Selenium is open source. A lot of community information is spread all over the internet. You can find anything on the go. And then Katalon is proprietary on proprietary basis. You have a very limited support available on the internet. So we'll wrap up with the ending note that there is no one size fit for all tools for automation testing. Instead, it's highly recommended the tester evaluate himself and on the basis of needs, and then choose the right automation tool based on the business needs and its personal skills. So that is it, guys. Thank you so much for the session. Thank you so much for listening. We are going to move to question answer session now.
Hi, this is Akram.
So let me just add here that let me just add that whenever someone's asking a question, please say your name before you do so that we can keep a record. Thanks.
So yeah, this is Akram here. So I have a question from Ali. Ali, you were using locators. So there are multiple locators which is being provided by the Selenium. So can you prioritize which locator we should use on which occasion? Because we usually heard that it is not feasible to use XPath. So which locator should be used most on the priority?
So basically, XM, it depends upon the situation. So if the best practice is use the class, and if you don't find any specific class or for the locator, then you move towards the XPath. So the best approach is to find the class, and after that, if you don't find, so move towards the XPath.
And another question from the XPath, since it could be dynamic, then how should we cater that situation? Because the developer could change the XPath in the future, something that could hurt the XPath.
So, except there is a two path, relative and absolute XPath. If you choose the absolute XPath, there might be minimum chances that it will change in next iteration when the developer changes.
Okay. And there is something Selenium is also offering, that is like they're offering weights, and also there is a thread dot sleep. So what is the difference between these two?
So thread.slave is a code smell basically. We don't recommend the best approach is that we use the thread.slave. The best approach is to use the weights. So there is an implicit weight and explicit weight, and other than that, WebDriver provides you multiple weights in function like dot displayed, enabled. So the best approach is to use the Selenium weights instead of sleep.
So I was actually asking in which situation we should be using thread.sleep. Is there any particular situation? Because they are offering this.
According to the best practices, there is no such situation where you use thread.sleep. There is always Selenium wait commands, and there are particular waits that can be used at every occasions. Like you have to wait for the page to web load, there is separate wait for that. If you wait to page that element is enabled, there is separate wait for that. So you need to use the correct wait for the correct occasions.
Okay.
अली मेरा भी आपसे एक सवाल है कि जैसे आपने अपनी वेब एप्लीकेशन में बताया कि आप किसी भी यूज़र की कोई भी आप टेस्टिंग करते हैं तो उसके लिए मेरे ख्याल में ज़रूरी होता है कि आप पहले एप्लीकेशन को एक प्री टेस्ट स्टेट में रखें। फॉर एग्जांपल आपका कोई भी इनिशियल पॉइंट हो सकता है, तो आप वो सब कुछ मैनुअली मेंटेन करते हैं या उससे भी पहले एक ऑटोमेशन स्क्रिप्ट होता है जो एप्लीकेशन को, या लेट्स से अगर वो डीबी से डाटा फेच कर रहा है तो डीबी को एक स्पेसिफिक स्टेट में रखे ताकि आपके टेस्ट केसेस एक इनिशियल पॉइंट से रन करना स्टार्ट हो और चलें, तो ये वाला काम किस तरह पॉसिबल होता है बिफोर रनिंग योर टेस्ट?
अच्छा, इस उमर देर, राइट?
उमर मुख्तार है।
अच्छा, उमर, बेसिकली स्टेप्स टू परफॉर्म इस तरह होते हैं कि वंस यू आर लॉग्ड इन, ठीक है, उसके बाद आपने, लेट सपोज अगर आप, मैं एग्जांपल देता हूँ आपको, एपीआई कॉल है, एपीआई कॉल को हिट करने से पहले आपको उसका ऑथराइजेशन टोकन रिक्वायर्ड होता है। तो वंस यू आर लॉग इन, ठीक है, आपने उस एपीआई कॉल को हिट किया है, आपने उसका ऑथराइजेशन टोकन फेच कर लिया, और उसके बाद फिर आप उसको, जब उसका रिस्पॉन्स गेट करते हो एपीआई का, तो वहां पे यूज कर रहे होते हो। तो ये सारी जो आप स्टेप्स डिवाइड करते हो, लेट सपोज अगर आपने डीबी से भी कनेक्शन करना है, तो आपको मैन्युअली एक स्टेप्स पता होते हैं कि मुझे डीबी पे कब इंफॉर्मेशन रिक्वायर्ड है और उसको मैंने आगे कहाँ यूटिलाइज करना है। तो सो यू डिवाइड दीज इन स्टेप वाइज।
वो ठीक है,
आई गेस जी उमर।
जी मेरा क्वेश्चन ये है कि वो ठीक है, लेकिन जब हम वेब में उसको देखते हैं, वेब व्यू में, फॉर एग्जांपल मैं यूआई टेस्टिंग की स्पेसिफिक अगर बात करूं, तो उसमें हमें एप्लीकेशन एक इनिशियल पॉइंट चाहिए होता है ताकि हमारे टेस्ट केसेस रन करें। फॉर एग्जांपल आप स्केड्यूल की एग्जांपल दे रहे थे, तो उसमें एक यूजर लेट से जेम्स है, तो वो एक स्पेसिफिक इनिशियल पॉइंट है कि वो लेट से उसका जो स्लॉट है वो एट 2 PM स्टार्ट हो रहा है एंड ऑल दैट। तो वो सब कुछ आप पहले मेंटेन करते हैं डीबी में कि मैं टेस्ट रन करने से पहले इसको उसी इनिशियल प्री डिफाइंड स्टेट में रखूं?
हाँ एग्जैक्टली, बिल्कुल इसी तरह ही आप बेसिकली उसमें दो अप्रोचेज होती हैं आपकी। लेट सपोज आप ये डीबी में पहले डिफाइन कर लेते हो उसको, ठीक है, या आप उसको जो आपके पहले से डिफाइंड स्टेट होती है वो आपकी एपीआई में पड़ी होती है, तो आप उसे कंपैरिजन कर लेते हो। तो दोनों अप्रोच यूज की जा सकती हैं इसमें। सो द सेकंड पार्ट इज कि आप वो जो बात कर रहे हैं ना कि आपके जो टेस्ट केसेस है उसका इनिशियल पॉइंट क्या होगा। सो अगर मुझे स्केड्यूल स्क्रीन पे जाना है ना, तो मेरे पास प्री कंडीशंस क्या है कि मेरे पास लॉगिन पेज है, फिर डैशबोर्ड है, फिर स्केड्यूल स्क्रीन है। सो वंस मुझे अपने टेस्ट स्क्रिप्ट्स होंगे वो आपका स्टार्ट में लॉगिन पे आएंगे, फिर स्केड्यूल डैशबोर्ड पे, फिर स्केड्यूल स्क्रीन पे जाएंगे। सो हमारी जो बेस्ट प्रैक्टिसेस है जो सेलेनियम प्रोवाइड करता है वो ये है कि आपके जितने भी टेस्ट केसेस है वो इंडिपेंडेंट होने चाहिए। तो अगर आपके लॉगिन करने के बाद उस पर अगर आप नेविगेट करते हो और अपने टेस्ट वेरीफाई कर ले तो इट्स फाइन।
तो आप अपने हर टेस्ट केस के बाद उसको स्टेट रिवर्ट भी करवा देते हो वापस, जो चेंजेस आपका टेस्ट केस करता है?
यस एग्जैक्टली।
अली अक्सम है, आपने पॉम के बारे में बात की थी कि पॉम के थ्रू हम जो कोड रीयूजेबिलिटी मतलब वो फिजिबल हो जाती है। मतलब उसका पर्पस जो मुझे समझ आया वो ये है कि अगर एक पेज के अंदर काफी ज्यादा जो डाटा वो यूज मतलब बार बार हो रहा है मल्टीपल पेजेस में, तो फिर पॉम आपके लिए फिजिबल है। लेकिन अगर एक ऐसी वेबसाइट आए जिसमें एक तो हंड्रेड ऑफ नंबर ऑफ पेजेस हैं और उसमें डाटा इस तरह के जो कि आप रीयूजेबल नहीं हो सकता वो, तो उस केस में फिर पॉम क्या कहते हैं, वो क्या ऑप्शन होती है आपके पास इंस्टेड ऑफ पॉम?
अक्सम अक्सम देखो, दो अप्रोचेज होती हैं। आप रादर देन आप एक टेस्ट फंक्शंस लिखते हो और उस टेस्ट फंक्शंस के हर टेस्ट फंक्शन के अंदर आप अपने CSS लोकेटर्स की जो वैल्यू होती है वो राइट डाउन करते हो, ठीक है। अदर अप्रोच क्या होती है कि आप पेज डॉट मॉडल यूज करो, उसके बाद जितने भी लोकेटर्स हैं आपके वो आप सेपरेट क्लास में रख लेते हो। जो आपका क्वेश्चन है ना वो बेसिकली ये है कि आप, लेट्स सपोज मैं आपको एग्जांपल देता हूँ कि हमने लॉग आउट बटन पे क्लिक करना है, ठीक है। लॉग आउट बटन पे जो हमारे पास एक लोकेटर होता है, तो आप उस लॉग आउट बटन पे क्लिक करने के बाद आप प्रोफाइल पे भी जा सकते हो, लॉग आउट भी कर सकते हो, ठीक है। वेब की बात कर रहा हूँ मैं। तो मुझे उस जो लोकेटर है उसके साथ मल्टीपल टाइम इंटरेक्शन करना है, ठीक है। तो मेरे पास अब उस मल्टीपल टाइम इंटरेक्शन के बाद के अप्रोच के अंदर आइदर कि मैं हर टेस्ट स्क्रिप्ट के अंदर, हर टेस्ट फंक्शन के अंदर उस लोकेटर का बार बार कोड डुप्लीकेट करूँ, वहाँ पे लोकेटर का CSS वैल्यू एडिट करूँ, ठीक है। तो रादर देन दैट मैं एक सेपरेट टेस्ट क्लास के अंदर राइट कर लेता हूँ अपने सारे CSS और उसी को मल्टीपल टाइम में यूज कर सकता हूँ। एंड सेकंड थिंग इसके जो ज्यादा उसका मेजर एडवांटेज ये होता है कि इन अ लॉन्ग रन जब आपकी UI चेंजेस होती हैं, तो रादर देन कि आप उस इंडिविजुअल टेस्ट फंक्शंस के अंदर जाके लोकेटर्स चेंज करो, आप एक ही क्लास के अंदर एक लोकेटर लाइन ऑफ कोड चेंज करते हो, हर जगह रिफ्लेक्ट हो जाता है।
ठीक है। अच्छा, एक और चीज की, जो वेबसाइट्स होती हैं इनमें अक्सर वो आपने देखा होगा तो पॉपअप होते हैं जो कि वेबसाइट के अपने होते हैं। मतलब उनको मैंने देखा कि उनको हम एक्सेस कर सकते हैं थ्रू मतलब एक्सपाथ से जो भी है। लेकिन एक दो और चीजें होती हैं जिनका मुझे आइडिया नहीं है। एक SSL सर्टिफिकेशंस होती हैं शायद, जो आपने अक्सर देखा होगा कि दिस वेबसाइट इज नॉट सिक्योर, और सेकंड होती है जो कि सिस्टम की अपनी भी होती है कोई, तो इनको भी क्या हम कर सकते हैं थ्रू सेलेनियम ऑटोमेट?
हाँ एग्जैक्टली, एसएसएल सर्टिफिकेट्स के अंदर भी आप अगर देखें ना तो आपके पास एक स्पेसिफिक लोकेटर्स आ रहे होते हैं, चेक बॉक्स आ रहा होता है और आगे पास एक ओके के बटन आ रहा होता है, तो आप उसको वहां से एक्सेस कर सकते हो और उसको थ्रू सीएसएस और एक्सपाथ तो आप उसे कर सकते हो। और सेकंड थिंग इसके जो आपके पास आते हैं पॉपअप विंडोज के जो आते हैं, तो उसको आप वो सेलेनियम जो वेब ड्राइवर है वो इज केपेबल कि आप उसको विदाउट राइटिंग एनी स्क्रिप्ट, वो आपने स्पेसिफिक लोकेशन पे जाके आप लेट्स सपोज ड्राइवर डॉट क्विक कमांड है और एक आधी और कमांड है जिसके थ्रू आप वो पॉपअप भी हैंडल कर सकते हो।
चलो ठीक है।
अच्छा मेरा भी एक क्वेश्चन है। जिस तरह कल का हुआ था सेशन, उन्होंने भी एपीआई टेस्टिंग पे बताया था और आप लोगों का भी कुछ एपीआई टेस्टिंग का इसमें पोर्शन था। तो मेरा ये क्वेश्चन था कि दोनों फ्रेमवर्क सिंस एपीआई टेस्टिंग के लिए यूज होते हैं, तो कौन सा एक बेटर ऑप्शन है और कौन से टाइम पे कौन सा फ्रेमवर्क यूज करना चाहिए फॉर टेस्टिंग?
सॉरी अहमद, कैन यू प्लीज रिपीट?
ये था कि हाँ मैं करता हूँ। जो कल का हुआ था सेशन वो भी एपीआई टेस्टिंग पे ही था, तो कल के उन्होंने एक डिफरेंट फ्रेमवर्क बताया था और आज आप लोगों ने एक डिफरेंट फ्रेमवर्क प्रेजेंट किया है। तो एपीआई टेस्टिंग के लिए कौन सा फ्रेमवर्क इज अ बेटर ऑप्शन, या फिर दोनों में जो डिफरेंसेस हैं कौन से टाइम पे आप कौन सा फ्रेमवर्क यूज करें फॉर टेस्टिंग द एपीआई?
अच्छा अहमद, इट डिपेंड्स। लेट्स सपोज अगर आपके पास जो आज हम लोगों ने प्रेजेंट किया है वो बेसिकली उसका सिनेरियो ये था कि आपने एपीआई से डेटा फेच करना है और वैलिडेट करना है यूआई के ऊपर, ठीक है। तो आपके मल्टीपल आपके बिजनेस यूज केसेस हो सकते हैं जिनको आपने वैलिडेट करना होता है, डिपेंड्स अपॉन द सिचुएशंस कि आपकी रिक्वायरमेंट क्या है, आपके एंड
आई
गोल्स क्या
थिंक
चाहते हैं।
इसमें थोड़ा सा मैं जंप इन करूँ ना, तो एक्चुअली कल उन्होंने भी जो एपीआई का सेशन दिया ना, दे वर यूजिंग रेस्ट अश्योर्ड लाइब्रेरी एंड वी आर आल्सो यूजिंग द सेम लाइब्रेरी, सो दैट सेशन हमने भी रेस्ट अश्योर्ड के साथ ही कम्युनिकेशन किया है।
नहीं कम्युनिकेशन ही, मैं टेस्टिंग के लेवल पे बात कर रहा हूँ। जो
मैं वही
टेस्टिंग के
बता
लिए
रहा हूँ, टेस्टिंग लेवल पे जो अप्रोच आप कह रहे हैं ना, दैट अप्रोच वो बेसिकली उन्होंने फ्रेमवर्क यूज किया कोकम्बर का, हम सेलेनियम के साथ चले हैं, बट द लाइब्रेरी वी यूज्ड फॉर एपीआई टेस्टिंग इज रेस्ट अश्योर्ड, बोथ ऑफ अस।
अच्छा ठीक है।
So that's what I'm trying to tell you. Rest assured is the library we are using.
थैंक यू।
एडिंग टू मुताहिद पॉइंट अहमद, इसमें बेसिकली जो कल आप सेशन प्रेजेंट हुआ है उसमें भी जो एपीआई ऑटोमेट हो रही थी वो थ्रू पोजो एंड रेस्ट अश्योर्ड हो रही है, ठीक है। आप वो उसी तरह आपको की वैल्यू पेयर्स के अंदर डेटा मिल रहा है और उसको आप यूज कर सकते हो अपने टेस्ट स्क्रिप्ट के अंदर, और ये बेस्ट अप्रोच है किसी भी एपीआई को ऑटोमेट करने के लिए। दैट्स वाई वो उस फ्रेमवर्क में भी यूज हो रहा था और आज भी यूज हो रही है इस फ्रेमवर्क में भी।
अच्छा अली, मेरा एक क्वेश्चन है कि जो आपने अपनी एक्सटेंट रिपोर्टिंग दिखाई है अपने सेलेनियम के साथ, तो आप वो रिपोर्टिंग प्लगइन है वो ऑटो होता है या आपको अपने हर टेस्ट केस में हर अपने फॉर एग्जांपल अगर 10 के टेस्ट केसेस हैं तो उसके अंदर बताना पड़ता है कि ये पास है, अगर ये वाली असर्शन ट्रू हो जाए तो ये फेल है? मैनुअल करते हैं बस प्लगइन ऐड कर दिया और वो खुद ही उसको देख के रिपोर्ट जनरेट कर देता है?
अच्छा, ये बेसिकली थर्ड पार्टी टूल है उमर, और इसको हमने इंटीग्रेट किया अपने टूल के साथ, और बेसिकली इसका रनिंग मैकेनिज्म ये होता है कि ये एनोटेशंस को रीड करता है। अब जितनी भी एनोटेशंस हमारे पास है ना @टेस्ट के साथ, वो उनको रीड करता है। अगर वो उसके अगेंस्ट जो फंक्शन लिखा हुआ है पास है तो उसको पास कंसिडर कर देता है, अदरवाइज वो फेल मार्क कर देता है। तो हमें उसको दोबारा राइट डाउन करने की जरूरत नहीं होती इसके अंदर, तो वो उसी तरह इसको एग्जीक्यूट करके एट द एंड हमें बता देते हैं जितने टेस्ट केसेस पास है और फेल है।
अच्छा, अगर मेरी कोई एजर्शन है तो वो अगर पास हो गई है तो पास में लिख देगा, अगर वो एजर्शन फेल हुई है तो ये ऑटोमेटिकली उसे फेल मार्क करके लिख देगा, राइट?
एग्जैक्टली।
अच्छा ओके।
मेरे क्वेश्चन अहमद अमजद से है।
All right, so
जी
Aksam has a question.
yeah, okay. Let's have one more. Yeah, let's have one more question and then wrap up the session.
ओके सो
जी अक्सर
अहमद, आपने जो कैटलॉन में आपने वो लोकेटर्स जो दिखाए थे वो भी प्लगइन मतलब वो रिकॉर्डेड होते हैं कि या हम खुद वो लिख रहे होते हैं?
वो रिकॉर्डेड होते हैं। जब आप एक्शंस परफॉर्म कर रहे होते हैं तो वो साथ साथ लोकेटर्स को रिकॉर्ड करता जाता है। आप उन रिकॉर्डेड लोकेटर्स को मॉडिफाई भी कर सकते हैं, और अगर आप चाहें तो आप खुद भी लोकेटर अपना फ्रॉम स्क्रैच क्रिएट कर सकते हैं।
तो यही काम तो हम सेलेनियम आईडी में नहीं कर रहे होते? फिर उसमें गजल ने एक बात की थी कि उसमें अगर हम उसको कोई भी माइनर चेंज आ जाता तो उसमें आपका टेस्ट स्क्रिप्ट पूरा चेंज मतलब बर्स्ट हो जाता है, उसमें वो ब्लास्ट एक तरह की सिचुएशन क्रिएट हो जाती है कि आपके पूरे टेस्ट केसेस डिस्ट्रॉय हो जाते हैं। तो यही चीज तो कैटलॉन में नहीं आती, क्योंकि हम
नहीं,
सेलेनियम आईडी में तो उन्होंने यही
सेलेनियम
हमें एक ड्रॉबैक
सेलेनियम
बताया।
सेलेनियम के अंदर सेलेनियम आईडीई के अंदर जो है वो हार्ड कोड कर रहा होता है अपने स्क्रिप्ट्स के अंदर। इसमें वो स्क्रिप्ट्स के अंदर हार्ड कोड नहीं कर रहा, इसके अंदर वो जस्ट एक रेफरेंस जो है स्क्रिप्ट के अंदर ऐड कर रहा है। तो अगर वो फेल होता भी है तो आपको वो एग्जैक्टली बता देगा कि कहाँ पे कौन सा लोकेटर फेल हुआ है, और उसको आप अपनी रिपोजिटरी टेस्ट लोकेटर रिपोजिटरी में जाके उसको अपडेट कर सकते हो।
अक्सर ये ऐसे
अच्छा
ही है
ठीक है।
जैसे कि ऑब्जेक्ट रिपोजिटरी वहाँ पे हमारे पास कैटलॉन में बन रही होती है, तो जो भी हमारे पास लोकेटर्स हैं जिसको हम सेलेनियम में पर्टिकुलरली जाके एक्स पाथ उनका लेकर आते हैं, तो वहाँ पे ऑब्जेक्ट रिपोजिटरी में उसका एक्स पाथ बना रहा होता है। और अगर हमें उसमें थोड़ी सी ट्वीक्स भी करनी है तो हम वहाँ पे जाके उसको कस्टमाइज भी कर सकते हैं कैटलॉन के अंदर। जबकि रिकॉर्ड एंड प्ले में आपके पास बड़ी लिमिटेड ऑप्शंस होती हैं, आप उसको ना आपके पास इस तरह से प्रॉपर ऑब्जेक्ट रिपोजिटरी बनती है, आपके पास एक रिकॉर्ड चीज और आप उसको प्ले कर रहे होते हैं। इट्स जस्ट लाइक दैट।
अच्छा एक और चीज अली भाई से कि सेलेनियम के अंदर जो वेब ड्राइवर होता है ये हमें अगेन एंड अगेन इनिशिएट करना होता है कि ये वन टाइम इसकी इनिशिएशन होती है?
अच्छा अक्सर सेलेनियम के अंदर बेसिकली जो वेब ड्राइवर है वो हम एक दफ़ा इनिशिएट करते हैं, और वंस वी नेविगेट टू अनदर वेब पेज तो हम उसको बेसिकली सेलेनियम का यूज होता है कॉन्सेप्ट टैब्स हैंडलर का, तो हम सिर्फ ड्राइवर को स्विच कर देते हैं टू नेक्स्ट टैब, सो हमें दोबारा इनिशियलाइज करने की जरूरत नहीं होती उसको।
चलो ठीक है, थैंक यू सो मच।
हमजा हियर, मेरा भी एक क्वेश्चन है, एनी ऑफ द प्रेजेंटर कैन आंसर इट। ऐसा है कि लाइक हम लोग ने अगर मल्टीपल ब्राउजर पे टेस्ट करना हो किसी वेबसाइट को, तो क्या सेलेनियम हमें ये भी फैसिलिटेट करता है कि आपको एट द सेम टाइम आप क्रोम पे भी टेस्ट कर रहे हो, फायरफॉक्स पे भी कर रहे हो, एच पे भी कर रहे हो, या आपको खुद कोड पे जाके चेंज करना पड़ता है? एक टाइम पे आप फायरफॉक्स पे कर रहे हैं उसके बाद आप स्विच करें क्रोम पे?
ओके हमजा सेलेनियम ग्रेट अपॉर्चुनिटी आपको प्रोवाइड करता है कि आप मल्टीपल ब्राउजर्स के ऊपर एट द सेम टाइम टेस्ट कर सकते हो।
परफेक्ट।
अली भाई सेलेनियम ग्रिड जो है वो मल्टीपल हम सिस्टम्स के थ्रू भी नहीं कर, जो मैंने कॉन्सेप्ट पढ़ा था उसमें ये था कि आप जैसे डिफरेंट सिस्टम्स हैं उन
एग्जैक्टली ये सही है। ये मल्टीपल ब्राउजर्स भी है, मल्टीपल एनवायरनमेंट्स में भी है एक ही टाइम में। इसका बिगेस्ट एडवांटेज एक ये भी होता है कि व्हेन यू हैव अ वेरी डिटेल्ड टेस्ट सुइट लाइक हंड्रेड्स ऑफ टेस्ट केसेस, तो एक टाइम चलाने में काफी टाइम लगता है। तो एक बड़ा मेन एडवांटेज ये है कि आप उन टेस्ट केसेस को डिस्ट्रीब्यूटेड सिस्टम्स के ऊपर एक ही टाइम में चला सकते हो। दैट कैन बी मल्टी ब्राउजर, दैट कैन बी मल्टीपल एनवायरनमेंट्स। तो सेलेनियम ग्रेड प्रोवाइड्स दिस अपॉर्चुनिटी टू अस।
ठीक। अच्छा अगर सेलेनियम के अंदर कोई टेस्ट केस आपका क्रिटिकल फेल होता है और आप चाहते हैं कि आपकी टेस्ट एग्जीक्यूशन वहीं पे स्टॉप हो जाए, सपोज कि स्मोक टेस्ट आपका जो है वो इस तरह फेल हुआ, तो सेलेनियम के अंदर कोई है ऐसी फंक्शनैलिटी कि वो हम उसको एट दैट स्पॉट कहीं स्टॉप कर दें?
अच्छा
उससे
अक्सर
आगे
इसके
टेस्ट
अंदर बेसिक
एग्जीक्यूशन होई ना।
हाँ मैं आई गॉट योर क्वेश्चन। अच्छा इसमें अक्सर बेसिकली असर्शन का कॉन्सेप्ट यूज होता है। वी हैव हार्ड असर्ट एंड सॉफ्ट असर्ट। सॉफ्ट असर्ट में बेसिकली जिस तरह मैं अभी आपको अपने स्क्रिप्ट में भी दिखा रहा था कि मैं थ्रू अल्टरेटिंग कि मैंने सॉफ्ट असर्शन यूज की हुई थी, वहां पे मेरा टेस्ट केस अगर कोई कंडीशन मैच नहीं करती तो फेल नहीं होता, तो वो कंटिन्यू रहता है। अगर हम उसको जगह हार्ड असर्शन यूज कर देते हैं तो वो किसी भी पॉइंट पे आके अगर वो फेल होता है तो वो वहां से एग्जीक्यूशन स्टॉप हो जाएगी। नहीं
अच्छा
लेकिन वो तो
आपके पास फैसिलिटी होती है सेलेनियम के अंदर कि आप किसी भी एक टेस्ट केस को बाकियों का डिपेंड्स कर देते हो, तो आप डिपेंड्स का एनोटेशन यूज करके लेट्स से फॉर एग्जांपल अगर आपके पास लॉगिन का जो है वो फेल हो गया है और आप चाहते हो कि आपके बाकी आगे वाले ना चलें, तो आप उनको डिपेंड्स के एनोटेशन के अंदर ले आओ और आपके वो भी जो है वो उसके साथ फेल हो जाएंगे।
ठीक है सही।
अली रजा अली रजा एक क्वेश्चन मेरा है कि अगर फर्ज करें आपके पास डिफरेंट इन्वायरमेंट है, क्यूए है, डेव है, यूएटी है, प्रोडक्शन है, तो आप अपने सेलेनियम के टेस्ट केसेस को इनके लिए हर किसी के लिए अलग अलग लिखते हो या किस तरह से एनवायरनमेंट को मेंटेन कर रहे हो कि वो ऑटोमेटिकली एनवायरनमेंट डिटेक्ट हो और वो आपके टेस्ट केस चल जाए?
अच्छा, इसको हम मल्टीपल वे से कैटर कर सकते हैं। फर्स्ट वे इज कि जब आप नेविगेट करते हो किसी भी साइट के ऊपर तो आप एक स्पेसिफिक यूआरएल के थ्रू कर रहे होते हो, ठीक है। फर्स्ट वन इज दिस। और सेकंड थिंग इज आप इसे एग्जीक्यूट कर सकते हो थ्रू एनजीज एक्सएमएल्स। आप एक्सएमएल के अंदर बेसिकली जो अभी जो कॉन्सेप्ट मैं आपको दिखा रहा था कि आप मल्टीपल स्वीट्स एग्जीक्यूट कर सकते हो। आप एक क्यूए का स्वीट बना सकते हो, आप एक प्रोडक्शन का स्वीट बना सकते हो, ठीक है। और उसके अगेंस्ट जो आपने अपने टेस्ट केसेस राइट किए हुए हैं वो आप एग्जीक्यूट कर सकते हो।
और मेरे ख्याल में सिर्फ बेस यूआरएल का फर्क आएगा, जो आगे आपका पाथ है वो तो सेम होगा ना सारे एनवायरनमेंट्स पे।
एग्जैक्टली।
यार मल्टीपल अप्रोचेज हैं, ये भी है, आप टर्मिनल से भी इनपुट ले सकते हो, तो यू कैन डू व्हाटएवर यू वांट।
इसमें अली भाई जो बेस वो होता है बिफोर क्लास की होती है एक एनोटेशन, वो उसमें नहीं यूज कर सकते, चीज मेंशन कर सकते हैं कि बिफोर द एग्जीक्यूशन ऑफ द टेस्ट क्लास आप बिफोर क्लास में मेंशन करते हैं कि इसका सेटअप क्या होगा या डीबी कनेक्शन।
एग्जैक्टली आप उसमें कर सकते हो। बेसिकली वो बिफोर क्लास और बिफोर मेथड्स आपके इसलिए यूज होते हैं ना, आप उसमें अपनी मोस्टली जो यूज होते हैं उसमें लॉगिन, आपका जो टेस्ट फंक्शन है वो यूज हो रहा होता है, कि आप उसको लॉगिन कर रहे होते हो, उस लॉगिन के अंदर आप बेस यूआरएल की इंफॉर्मेशन दे रहे होते हो, ठीक है। तो आप उसके थ्रू भी कैटर कर सकते हो। फिर मल्टीपल वेज है।
मेरा ख्याल है आप अपनी एक्सएमएल से भी पास कर सकते हैं उसको ना,
एग्जैक्टली आप अपनी
वेरिएबल
एक्सएमएल से भी पास करते हो। आप एप्लीकेशन यूआरएल की एक फाइल बना सकते हो। आप एक जो है आपकी
काफी अप्रोचेज हैं, सीएसवी में रखवा सकते हैं, कुछ भी हो सकता है।
एग्जैक्टली एक्सेल फाइल आप ऐड कर सकते हो, उसके अंदर आप डिफरेंट बेस यूआरएल्स ऐड कर सकते हो, उसको रीड करके कर सकते हो।
अच्छा, एक और चीज आपने सेशन की बात की है, एक वेरीफाई भी, मतलब मैं तो अक्सर यूज किया वेरीफाई, तो वेरीफाई का क्या डिसएडवांटेज है एज कंपेयर टू असर्ट? अगर हम वेरीफाई यूज करना चाहें वो किस सिचुएशन में यूज करना चाहिए फिर?
अच्छा, जो है ना बेसिकली आपका सॉफ्ट असर्ट, और वो बेसिकली आपका होता है कि आप लाइक कमांड दे रहे हो कि अगर किसी स्टेप पे भी आके वो फेल करता है तो एग्जीक्यूशन स्टॉप ना हो। और वेरीफाई और जो हार्ड असर्ट है वो काइंड ऑफ सेम है। अब उसमें होता है ये बेसिकली कि अगर आपके पास किसी भी सर्टेन पॉइंट पे आके कोई कंडीशन फेल हो जाती है तो वो एग्जीक्यूशन स्टॉप कर देगी। तो देयर आर मल्टीपल, आपको डिपेंड करता है आपके सिचुएशन के ऊपर आप क्या यूज करते हैं।
All right, so everyone, I will have to wrap up the session here. We can continue with the discussion afterwards as well. So yeah, thank you everyone for joining today. I would like to thank Ali Raza, Ghazal Shahzadi, Mutahir Sohail and Ahmed Amjad for giving a very useful session today and also answering your questions, which actually put life into the session as well. Tomorrow we have another session, API testing with Katalon Studio and Jenkins, to be delivered by Sumaya and Zunair. We will be announcing the most active participant of today and the question of the day winner for yesterday as well in today's email. And you would also be getting the question of today for this session shortly. So yeah, that's it. You can continue with the discussion, and but we're officially wrapping the session now. So thank you, everyone.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you.